right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Tuesday. Yep, today is Tuesday, the 7th of October, ladies and gentlemen, 2025. Look, I wanted to pick up on this little session on the New Zealand dollar because why? Because we're going to get the interest rate decision from the RBNZ. Before we go any further, as always, just a quick read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. So yes, we are getting the cash rate decision from the RBNZ tomorrow morning, early hours of the Asian morning. But look, also just a quick mentioning actually of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. And also something I wanted to tell you that there's going to be a session by me on the 30th of October. Basically, I'm running these series of webinars on Zoom where I'm talking about the indicators, the top popular, the most popular indicators out there for traders, and then we're applying it in real life action just to see if those work or not. And look. I think we had already two sessions on MACD and RSI. This one's going to be on the Bollinger Bands. So if it is kind of relative to you, hey, feel free to join. The link is in the description of this video, and we'll go from there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the economic calendar and Wednesday. Yes, this is the piece of information that I wanted to talk about right now. Basically, the interest rate decision from the RBNZ. Look, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has been lowering rates for some time. Let's jump into the chart actually. And it has been, moving lower since Since something like mid of 2024. And look at this. Last time we also got a move to the downside. The current rate is at 3%. New Zealand. Last time the bank dropped it in August. Yep, there we go. It was in August on the 20th. I'm looking at the number here. On the 20th of August, the number kind of dropped to 3%. What can I say? So far, I think that the bank continues to do so, continues to do those cuts, and it seems like it needs to do those cuts because they need to boost the economy a little bit. Now look, looking at this chart, yes, like I said, the current expectation is for a 2.75 rate. Basically dropping it by 25 basis points. However, there are rumors that maybe, just maybe, we could see a 50 basis point cut, and dropping it to 2.5%, of course. Look, it's possible. There is kind of a room for that to happen, or there is this idea which could in a way happen, because looking at the growth of the economic growth of the country, well, I would say it's really kind of lagging a little bit. So we saw the latest Q2 GDP growth rate coming out, and that was in mid-September. And to be honest, that was a little bit of a disappointment because the forecast was already for a low number, basically dropping from plus 0.9 to minus 0.3, and that was the forecast. It dropped to minus 0.9. So from the previous plus 0.9, it dropped to minus 0.9. So look, that's of course is a little bit worrying. Inflation in New Zealand. Let's have a look at if we do get a chart here. Yep, there we go. We have a chart on TradingView. So inflation started picking up a little bit. Okay, that's not critical. Still okay. From jumping from like 2.2 to 2.7. We were here, back in 2022. We were around 7%. So. Yeah, it's all fine still. It's all doable and manageable. But I think that what the RBNZ wants is really to boost that growth, boost that lending, at an expense of low kind of devaluating the currency, because looking at the chart, and let me just show you what I'm talking about. So looking at AUD NZD, look at this move here. This has been on a since what? Since April, when we saw this drift lower, when the stock market kind of dropped. The New Zealand dollar did strengthen here, but then when the recovery started in the stock market, Australian dollar started picking up interest, buying interest. New Zealand dollar started kind of losing ground here. The New Zealand economy is it's okay. Don't get me wrong, it's okay. The jobless rate is around what, 5.2%, so that's fine. So everything is kind of ish okay, but it's just that it's lacking growth. So inflation is still normal, but look, if they're going to go for more of those cuts, of course they're weakening their own currency. But this is kind of at an expense of the domestic consumer in a way, and the domestic consumer is going to be suffering in this case a little bit, especially if the domestic consumer does like to do a lot of traveling. Because look, Australia, look at this, it became quite a little bit more expensive for New Zealand. For New Zealanders to, let's say, travel to Australia, right? And looking at this, I mean, there is still, the trajectory is still to the upside. I mean, yes, it was a strong move higher, but I think that there is still some room for some more upside. Looking at NZD USD, you can see that the currency here is even the US dollar. The fact that the US dollar is on the weaker side, still New Zealand dollar is losing ground. Look, maybe it's one of the options for the government to make New Zealand exports more attractive. But I don't know if they're going to succeed in that or not. But in general, yeah, it's look. New Zealand is big in agriculture, dairy agriculture, so and meat as well. But is that going to be enough? Again, it's a tricky moment. The country does rely heavily on tourism, so maybe lowering down devaluating your own currency kind of makes it a little bit more attractive for foreigners to go into the country and spend their cash in there. So again, it's a little bit of a, as always, it's a stick with two ends, and you're trying to balance it out. But somewhere you have to cut, somewhere somewhere you have to take, somewhere you can add. But in general, let's see what's going to happen. Of course, everybody's watching, what's going to happen with that rate cut. Are we going to get the 25 basis point only, or are we going to get a little bit more, like the 50? So also one pair I wanted to show you, and that's the Euro NZD. Look, since the beginning of this year, or from the beginning of this year, the pair did lose, or I should say the currency, the New Zealand dollar, did lose around 8% of its value against the euro, and this has been a good move here higher. My concern here is that, look, it seems like this pair sometimes is an indicator of some problems in the economy. Because look, when we had the financial crisis as well, before the financial, or actually when the financial crisis happened, we started rallying. And now, although it's not a crisis, but we're seeing the euro rallying heavily against New Zealand dollar, and I think that there could be some still more room to the upside here. If that's the case, then wow, I mean, look, we're looking at something big here. We're looking at a very interesting indicator in a way. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Keep that in mind, because also, look, when we had COVID moment here, right, the euro really strongly appreciated against the New Zealand dollar, but then we corrected back down, and we know that after COVID, the stock market started rallying. So this is where, like I said, it's an interesting moment right now. So we are kind of we're at the moment, we're living through slightly opposite, so the stock market is rallying, but also this pair is rallying. Okay, like I said, we'll see how it's going to play out, if we need to worry about this or not. But in general, it's an interesting moment here. I wanted to show you that. So, ladies and gentlemen, also keep your eyes on the GBP NZD, that's another interesting pair. And looking at the monthly chart on this one, you can see that it is pushing higher. And I'm specifically looking at this from the monthly perspective, because again, look at, I mean, we have crossed on the, from the technical perspective, we have crossed above the 200-day EMA. In general, we're above all of the EMAs here, and this is showing good potential here for some more upside. Not very good for the New Zealand dollar, of course, in relation to other currencies, but certainly other currencies could gain here, could gain good ground against the New Zealand dollar. So we're being very careful, of course, but certainly at the moment it looks a little bit worse for the New Zealand dollar, to be honest, in the upcoming months. Again, let's see if the technicals do not lie, but for now, we can see that the 50 has crossed above the 100-day EMA, where the green line is crossing above the 100, and now it's approaching the 200, so maybe the 50 will cross above the 200, so there could be some more upside to come. So in a way, what I'm targeting here on GBP NZD is this 2.2.5, a little bit above 2.5 zone. So yeah, keep your eyes on that. On the Euro NZD side, I am, where's that? I lost the our Euro NZD. Where's my Euro NZD? There we go. On the Euro NZD side, I'm targeting the area around 2.11, something like that. And then we'll go from there. I'm not going to speculate too much on this, but certainly for now, I'm aiming for that. Look, I will change my direction if I see these little, on looking at the daily chart, these little upside lines getting broken. If I see that, I'm considering a little bit of a move to the downside here. So in general, then I'm looking, if I do get the first break, let me just get rid of this one. Get rid of this this highlighted area. So if I get a clearance of this little short-term upside line taken from the low, the 10th of June, then of course I'll slowly aim for the downside, and my kind of final destination for now would be this 200-day EMA, which currently almost coincides with this other upside line taken from the low of the 30th of September of last year. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is just a quick update on the New Zealand dollar and the RBNZ interest rate decision tomorrow. So, hopefully you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching, listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe as usual, and let me know in the comments if you agree or not, and we'll go from there. Ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. Have your stop losses in place. Risk only what you can afford to lose. Don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. And I'll see you in my next little video update. Bye for now.